Okay, so it's 5:30 and I'm calling this meeting to order. First, a reminder that meetings of the Select Board are meetings conducted in public. They are not meetings of the public. Nonetheless, members of the public shall be afforded reasonable opportunities to express opinions about matters conducted by the Select Board, so long as order is maintained. The rules for public comment are: at the conclusion of a Select Board discussion on an agenda item, but before any action is taken, there may be 10 minutes afforded to public comment. Comments made by the public must be addressed to the chair or to the Select Board as a whole, and not to any individual members of the Select Board or members of the public. Members of the public must be acknowledged by the chair before speaking. If a member of the public has already spoken on a topic, they shall not be recognized again until others have first been given the opportunity to comment. Order and decorum shall be maintained throughout the meeting. Personal, impertinent, threatening, or profane remarks will not be tolerated. For those who are participating via Zoom, please note that chat is not an appropriate avenue for public comment. All public comments must be made verbally when acknowledged by the chair. Please silence all cell phones, and a reminder to all that this meeting is being recorded and may appear on the internet. So, are there any adjustments to the agenda?
I have none.
Okay, does anybody else have any adjustments?
No.
Okay, can I hear a motion to approve the minutes of April 5th, 2023?
So moved.
Can I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of April 5, 2023. Did anybody see anything?
Hi, this is Heidi Henkel, and I don't hear your meeting very well, but I'm available to answer questions about the Connecticut River Conservation Committee, or whatever that's called. I am at work and I can't give you my undivided attention.
Okay,
for a period of time.
okay, so that comes up in a little while. It's the item C under, well, it's 7C. So we'll call on you when we're ready, okay?
Right, I'm not able to just hang out at your meeting for that long of a time because I'm at work. Can
Okay.
you call me on my telephone number when you're ready to talk to me?
No, we can't.
We have her
Well,
form.
I don't know.
But we have your,
What's the,
so we have the information in our packet right here. But right now we have some other things that we need to do before we can get to that item. So,
right, so how are you going to notify me when you're ready to talk to me? Because I'm not going to just sit on the phone while I'm not meeting.
this is an open meeting, and if you're not available to talk to us, then we'll just hold our questions. If we have questions, we'll wait until the next time.
You can't contact me when it's time to ask me?
No, we cannot.
So I have to somehow leave this thing on? Okay, so I'll leave myself on Zoom and I'll be muted, and I'm just going to be working, and when you're ready to talk to me, let me know.
Okay, sounds good. All right, are there any?
I don't know how to mute myself.
Okay, can you mute her, please?
Yes.
So we're working on the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes?
I do not see any.
All right. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right.
I can't read it.
Moving on, you should be able to.
It's just saying it's asked to.
I think it's good.
Oh, I got it.
Yep.
She's
All
good.
right.
She's good.
So, moving on to public comment on items not on the agenda. Is there public comment in the room on items not on the agenda? Any public comment online? Anything on the Select Board? All right, moving right along to the warrants to the treasurer.
Make a motion to approve and execute the warrants to the treasurer on completion or review.
Okay, can I hear a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve and execute the warrants upon completion of review. Karen?
So check payroll warrant dated April 21st, 2023 in the amount of $22,553.82. This will have the rec league, the director, and the concession person.
Oh, okay, yep.
It looks a little different today.
Yeah.
Because
I
like
see, I
checks
see.
are up top and then,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
There's another.
See if we have any questions on the payroll?
I do not.
Moving on to accounts payable.
So accounts payable dated April 8th through April 21st, 2023, in the amount of $239,261.60. In this warrant, you will see the new truck. So Advantage Truck Group for $90,093. That is for the cab of the truck. And then for Howard P. Fairfield, $84,950. That's for the dump body. And everything else is just monthly expenses.
Okay. I don't see anything in here that jumps out at me.
Yeah, I'm just looking too, but Fitzgerald Environmental is a consultant doing the Wilson Wetlands work.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Going on to the town manager's report.
So I attended the second annual Vermont Capital Planning Forum in Barry on April 13th. Learned a lot of good information. I also learned that Barry did not have a capital improvement plan until last year, and they have a town manager form of government with a mayor.
Oh, wow.
So, that's, I was surprised, but, you know, we'll be working on our capital improvement plan in the near future. There was a company there from Massachusetts. They offer their services free to assist towns with capital improvement plans, so I'm gonna reach out to them. They also have a legal department. We talked about capital improvement plan policies. Towns should be looking at a 20-year plan, not just, you know, a short-term 5-year plan, but it should go out 20 years and it should be tied to the town plan. So the fact that we're doing an amendment to our town plan now,
So they should go in hand, I guess. Yeah,
yep,
okay.
especially for like, you know, big dollar items like the wastewater treatment plant. So we talked about defining needs and musts, not wants. Climate mitigation was huge. That was like the whole afternoon. All the state agencies are collaborating together, and because they see people are, you know, doing duplicate work, and they're trying to be cohesive and support the towns. So the climate change is going to be huge, and it's going to be quick. They're already rolling out programs through Windham Regional Commission and grant money. We also talked about rooms, meals, alcohol, and local taxes to fund initiatives. So Stowe has a $15 million budget, and with their local taxes, rooms, meals, and alcohol, they brought in 10% to fund different. So 1.5 million they brought in just on taxes as revenue.
How does that work in terms, so we would have to implement,
Yes.
and do we Are we allowed to do that without a charter?
We are now.
We are now.
Because
Is that-
the local
did that
taxes,
pass?
yes.
That passed? Okay.
Yes. So something we should consider and look at. We don't have to do it like right this second, but I think in the
We
near
should study it,
future, when we
yeah.
start looking at the capital improvement plan and having a solid plan, it's something we may need to consider.
Okay.
So,
We're not gonna bring in the funds like Stowe brings
No,
in.
well, no.
no. But it was interesting, so I did get a lot out of that. The RFP, or the request for proposal for the boat, is going back out in the comments on the website, Facebook, and VLCT. Bids will be due May 25th, and the May 31st select board meeting, there'll be a recommendation.
Okay.
The RFP for the fire department operations analysis is in progress. We should have it available by the next meeting. And Tom and I are working on it together. Tom Goddard, fire chief, and I are working on it together. I have quite a few zoning files on my desk right now that I am getting to, but all of a sudden there's this wave of zoning applications that have come in, and Tom has felt the pressure as well, you know, on the commercial side of things, institutional. All Service replaced our copier with a new one.
Wait a minute, Karen, can you give any kind of summary about the zoning things that are coming in, just generally, like what range of things, what, you know?
Well, a lot of them right now have to do with housing. So accessory dwellings, units, ADUs. And there's like 2 down here on Main Street already.
Yeah.
As you can see, Mr. Maytow is doing work
Doing some
on
work, yeah.
the pizza place. He is taking all the siding down because it's pretty much gone. He'll be replacing windows and doors, putting siding up, but he's prepping it to either rent or sell, but I think he hasn't figured it out quite yet. He's got a lot going on. The other building too, same thing. He's got windows in there. He has people in there.
The one on Kimball Hill.
On Kimball Hill across from Next Stage. He's looking at maybe a studio apartment with retail or some sort of like office in there. I mean, it's a pretty good size, but we'll see what happens with that. He's gonna be, I'm talking to him about sidewalks, especially in front of that green building. And so I'm doing whatever I can to support him, to keep the energy going, but we'll see what happens. He's, you know, we sat down, we met a couple times, and progress is being made.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it's all good.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Let's see. So the copier, we had to get a new one. All Service is honoring our old contract, which is really good.
Well, that's right, last time we couldn't do,
Right.
decided.
Right. So the other
Awesome.
one, it just died. It just
Yeah.
like, we had to replace it. So currently managing 13 grants at the moment. And VLCT also is offering a webinar for government finance overview for select boards on May 3rd, 9:30 to noon. So if anybody's interested in that, I will send you the link so you can look at the details.
I think that's the one I did last year.
Yeah,
Yeah, was it a 2-part session?
I thought that was select board essentials.
No, it was finance, I did something with finance.
Yeah, there was a finance one that we
Yeah.
both took,
Okay.
then
Yeah.
probably ought to take it again.
Yeah.
Probably ought to
That
get
was-
a personal tutor.
Right. I remember that the presenter was very enthusiastic about governing accounting, and I felt really glad for her that she loved her job so much.
There's gonna be some events coming up. There's like so many events right now. It's, you know, it's either around funding or it's around economic development, but there's a lot going on. So on May 18th in Windsor, there's Vermont Community Development Association is having a day event for recreation for economic vitality, local and regional strategies for success. Also, Southern Vermont Economy Summit is going to be May 23rd in Wilmington. This is always a good event. I usually go. If anyone's interested, they should let me know.
When is it again?
May 23rd. It's at Haystack Mountain. But I will send you that stuff too. That's put on by Brattleboro, well, Sevitz. Yeah. And that's all I have.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments on the town manager's report on the select board? Is there any comments in the room about the town manager's report? Any comments online? All right, moving on to boards, committees, commissions. First up is the Planning Commission Town Plan Update, which is Sue.
Thank you.
I don't know, did you receive in your packet the little
We have a status report.
little status report, and I have copies for here for people. There goes a couple there, just one page each.
Great.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to address you my first time as chair of the Planning Commission. So, happy to do that. I'm just going to give you a quick update on the town plan process and the Planning Commission. Overall, it's going very well. I want to begin by thanking the town staff. Karen and Kim and Jonathan have all been very supportive of us preparing things and getting things up on the website and so forth. So we appreciate their support. What I want to talk about briefly here is a bit about what's different in the town plan that we're writing for 23 than 2015. In fact, it's drastically different. The 2015 town plan you could use as a doorstop. It has a lot of pages and a lot of detail. The plan that we're developing is much thinner, it's much more graphically oriented and strategically focused. For example, I worked with the Conservation Commission to review the natural resources section of the 2015 town plan. They identified 200 action items just there for that. And I helped them review what they were able to do and what they didn't. And out of that, a learning was there's sometimes way more that we put in there that really is priority and needed. So this next town plan will be much more condensed and focused in terms of what to do over the 8 years at a higher level. And linking that to more specific reports, for example, the Conservation Commission again is developing from some of the money we had for the town plan a natural resources report that is in depth, that will be referenced in the big town plan, but they will be developing an annual plan of what they're doing to implement the town plan. That'll be a separate document versus trying to embed a whole lot of detail that will change over 8 years into it. So it'll be a higher level set of objectives, policies, and actions, just a few for each section, and an overall implementation plan that links them together in the final version. So it's, again, easier to read. It links to things, which is more what we do today with documents and reports, and it will be more of a priority setting agenda. So I wanted you to understand how different that will be. The other important difference in writing the 2023 town plan from 2015 is that in 2017, Vermont state law required that municipalities adopt a set of state goals for municipalities. There's 12 of those, and they require 14 sections in the plan. So in writing the town plan, we have to make it comport with that, because that allows Putney to receive state and federal funding. It supports a range of activities as well.
Can I ask you a question about
yeah.
that? So what's your sense of that, the way it's been structured? Do you feel constrained by it? Do you feel like it's helpful? Do you know?
Yeah, the new structure, I think, will address the problem of just trying to do everything at once, so no complete, real strategic focus. And it's a little more nimble in that it can reference documents that can be updated based on what happens over the next 8 years. I mean, if you think about what we were looking at in 2015 and what we're looking at today, things are very different. And I'd say one overall theme of what's different is what Karen was talking about a few minutes ago, which is climate change. I mean, that is coming at us very quickly, very rapidly, and I would say every section of the town plan is reflecting what our response is to climate change. So again, that will be changing rapidly over the next 8 years, what the impacts are and how we're responding to them. So the plan provides a higher level frame for that, and sets in place actions and policies that will be developed after the town plan is done.
Do you feel like it constrains you in any way? Or do you know what I mean? Are there things that you want to put in the town plan that this structure that the state has handed down is constraining you from putting in?
No, I would say I don't feel that way. I would say that it's been a very important conversation with the Conservation Commission because, you know, of all the things that they want to do and that we are important to do. But trying to let that have life in a separate plan, they're managing year to year. This was recommended by the consultant that you can't know right now what you're doing 5 years from now. You can have higher level statements of what to do, but the specific action. So I think taking it from over 200 items, that actually was a constraint in itself. What was the priority? What are you going to do? To something that's much more focused and linking to things that would enable other committees and efforts to be responsive to what is important right now, but responding to the big 8-year vision and picture. So I actually think it's liberating, especially being able to link to other documents. You know, back in 2015, it wasn't quite that dynamic. So I think we're enriched by the ability to reference other things directly by the plan. So it's a good question. I do think it actually is liberating to have something lighter. We're working with a consulting firm that's done this with several towns, and those towns have actually really appreciated this other approach. It's more engaging with the community too. So, good question. So I think when it comes to you, our plan is to have a full recommended town plan to you by the 15th of September.
Okay.
And we're doing all the community meetings right now. We expect a very good attendance tomorrow night in the land use and natural resource meeting. And so that is both educating people and giving us some sense of what the priorities and what matters to people. We haven't received a lot of written comments, honestly. We've provided that, but the conversations have been helpful, and I think by the time we get to the Planning Commission hearing in August with a full rolled up draft, people will be more prepared, you know, if there's any final comments there. So,
Can I ask another
yeah.
question? Do you mind?
Go ahead.
Having been to both of the meetings that have happened thus far, they've been great. My question is, what's been your process of going from, you know, this brainstorming, freewheeling kind of conversation to, you know, discerning what the community's priorities are? You know, I'm seeing the big gathering, but so I'm just wondering what you all are doing with it between those gatherings and when you're involved in them.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. So in most cases, in the gatherings, we've put out a draft document, and then we focus the discussion, because we don't have a lot of time, on the action items, which is the objectives, policies, and actions. And we've been listening to what the feedback is, and we actually summarize it. We actually have a whole compilation of what we heard back. And we're considering that as we're preparing the final draft. So the commission is actually planning topical meetings on each of the sections with the benefit of that initial discussion and feedback. Largely what we've heard is that what the consultant has drafted has resonated strongly with people. And there have been maybe a few gaps here and there. And sometimes it's a question of what level to go at. Is it high level? Is it very low level? But we will integrate all that as we sit down to write the next, to give the consultant our feedback to write the next draft. So that's how we're proceeding. We're taking all of it, summarizing it. Our clerk is doing a great job of that. We're actually going to be posting it on the new updated website look. But we will consider that in writing the next draft. So keep in mind also that we're educating people, that we're showing how we're meeting state goals and requirements, which happily really align pretty much with what we have heard that the community wants anyway. There's nothing that feels like it pulls in the wrong direction. And climate resilience and preparation is really, again, a major theme in what the state has required. So there's no huge disconnect that way that I've seen yet. So thank you for your question. Any other questions about the approach we're taking to this? If you want, I can send to all of you an example of how it's been done for other towns that PlaySense has worked with. If you would like that as just sort of a preview to know what to anticipate that you're going to get.
As a finished town plan, you mean?
Yeah, as a finished town plan, what does it actually look like?
That'd probably be good.
PDFs
I've seen them actually, but yeah, I think that would be a good.
Okay, I'll take that as a follow-up. I'll just send you links to a couple of them, and you can take a look at them. So by the time we're done, we get something to you by the 15th of September, then there's 2 hearings that you all will need to hold before you do an approval. Now, the reality is, if we have a whole lot of comments and changes that come at our August hearing, we by law, we may be required to have a second hearing. We're hoping that the community meetings and the input we're doing up front gets us to a place where there's a lot more understanding and support for the plan when we get to August. But we'll see. This is a new process for everybody, so we'll find out how it works, right? So those are just some things I wanted to highlight for you about what's coming. But overall, things are on track. The natural resources section full draft will come out next Monday. It was supposed to come out this week, but there's the maps are out, and that's going to be a focus for tomorrow night. And those are really exciting. And we're prepared to do a lot more outreach. There's the town-wide or community-wide survey is in final stages. We actually have an online version of a survey tool that we're using, which we'll make available to some of the outreach or Putney groups. We're trying to coordinate surveys. Everybody wants to do surveys right now. And so we're going to try to coordinate the timing, what they are, and also the use of online tools will make it easier and less expensive for everybody. So we're doing that, and we're also preparing to do outreach to different parts of the community who are not coming to community meetings. The most we've had is 50 people. All right, that's still a good showing for that, but there's a lot of people that we're not reaching, so we're preparing to do that. In fact, I've asked Karen if she could schedule a meeting with the town staff to talk about the municipal facilities and services section that's coming out on the 5th of May, to talk about that. So we're trying to find ways to make sure we connect directly with audiences that are particularly affected by a section. Okay. There's only so much we can do. We're 5 people, but
you're doing a great job.
We're giving it the best effort we can. So I think those are mainly things. Like the back of this is just, again, a schedule of what's happening when, including your part. We'll get to that. So unless you have any other questions, I
didn't
know.
see it. The back of
the second, did you get the second page?
It's funny because I know I saw it somewhere.
Page 2.
Well, we have this and that's it.
Mine's
I mean, it was online.
It was online.
It was online,
Well,
yeah.
I just
Did I
happened to
not
have.
do?
So
Well,
all
this
the
is not,
copies.
yeah.
My
That's where I
bad.
saw it. I saw it online. That's okay.
That's all right. This one comes with color.
Thank you.
It says two, but we did one to cover.
It's a new copier, I'm not used to it.
Happily, it works.
Okay.
That's the best thing.
That's good to get these dates in the calendar.
So that gives you the schedule. This was in my last report to you. This is still the schedule that we're following for when things will be prepared and how they're moving forward, so. And the community meetings and all of that. And if you, I know that several of you, especially Nate, he's actually helping the community meetings. Thank you, Nate. He's hosting the breakout group for the virtual participants, which is really, really wonderful. And Peg and Eileen have been to meetings. If you have a chance, Eric and Charles, to come, we would love to have you there in the conversation. I recognize everybody in the audience if I see you there. And people in the community do appreciate the chance to have that kind of open conversation. So really, we have breakout group discussions, and I think it allows just new kinds of thinking and exchange that happens in that format, less formal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. Anything else?
Thank you, Sue.
No, yeah, but
Thank you.
thanks for, yeah, this is, it's great that this is coming along, so it seems to be coming along very smoothly.
Yes, well, as you put all the pieces together, that's
Yeah.
when it'll be crunched.
That's good. All right,
Good
thank
energy.
you. Is there any public comment online about the town plan update? Any comments in the room? Public comments in the room? Any other questions on the select board? Things are moving around. Oh, that's you, Karen, okay. All right, next up is the notice of appointment to Windham Regional Commission.
So in your packet is our town representative. We should have two, and I've been trying to stress the importance of this. So Stephen Dotson, I had lunch with him on Friday, and he has agreed to continue on. He's going to be a good resource too for us. So, but we really do need a second person as a town representative for Windham Regional Commission, because there is going to be a lot happening.
Can you explain what the commission does?
So basically, they have to, so the town representative gets on a particular, like, how do I want to say it? Subcommittee. And it could be transportation, energy, brownfields. They have a lot of different ones. So basically, they go to the meetings and they come back with information, you know, that towns can utilize. But Windham Regional Commission is our regional planning commission, and they support towns with either funding or resources. And they do assist us with writing grants sometimes and doing like town plans or zoning bylaws.
Yeah.
So we do pay an assessment to Windham Regional.
They have
All
staff
towns
too,
do.
right?
That's
Staff,
correct.
Yeah.
They have a paid staff, and they have added quite a few new people to their staff.
Mhm.
Planners, some people have retired, but there are support mechanism
Right.
for like economic development. It could be climate change, energy, whatever it is.
Maps, they do a lot of maps, right?
Mapping too, yep. So how the highways, they used to manage the grants and aid program, but now the state has taken that back.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So I recommend that, you know, the select board appoint Stephen Dotson, and we continue to look for a second person.
All right, is this a yearly appointment?
It is an annual, yes.
Until March, okay, yeah. All right, so can I hear a motion to appoint Stephen Dotson to the Windham Regional Commission?
So moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to appoint Stephen Dotson to the Windham Regional Commission for the period of April 1st, 2023 until March 31st, 2024. Is there further discussion on the board? Are there any comments online? Any comments in the room? Right, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any
Thank
opposed?
you.
Okay. All right, moving on to the nomination for the Local River Subcommittee for the Connecticut River Municipal Representative. Heidi, this is you? Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, there you are, okay.
I'm here.
Hi. So,
Hi.
we have a application here, with some information about why you think you'd be good for this, committee. Do you want to speak to it some more? Do you have any additional thoughts? Or does the select board have?
Well,
questions?
okay, so there isn't a whole lot to say, except this is a committee that it's a regional committee to take care of the Connecticut River and protect it from things that might harm it, where people might not be aware of what the impacts that they might have would be, or they might not know all the mitigation options. And there are people on this committee who know lots of stuff like that. So one example is there was a gas station that was going to get built right next to the Connecticut River, and someone on this committee knew about a technology that could be installed with the gas pumps to make sure that none of the gas dripping from the gas pumps could through the river. And the person building the gas station didn't know anything about this, but the committee knew about it, and so they advised them to use this technology, so they did. So that is a gas station that is not putting gasoline into the Connecticut River because of this committee. So that's the kind of thing, like all these things that people want to do that are right near the river, they have to get some kind of permit, and whenever there's a permit process, we get some input into that, and we can make recommendations about what people will do, and the committee tends to make recommendations that improve the likelihood that the river will stay nice and clean. So I have an interest in that because I care about the wildlife, and also because I care about the safety and health of people who are boating and swimming in the river and eating fish out of the river and stuff. So Putney hasn't had a representative to that committee in a really long time. And I actually attended one of their meetings to see whether it was a functional group, because I didn't want to join the committee if the committee was sort of super dysfunctional or something. And it seemed like a really very constructive, productive group. And so it seems like a good, it's a real deal kind of thing. So I want to be part of it, and it means that Putney would have a representative. So if people in Putney have particular concerns about the water quality in the river or any particular permit that's being considered or something, they could talk to me about what their concern is, and I could even learn some more about it and then bring that up to the committee when I meet with the committee. And it only meets, I think, once every 3 months.
Okay. Other questions on the select board for Heidi?
I have a question, Heidi. I don't know very much about this commission. How much of the Connecticut River is it concerned with? Which parts of the Connecticut River?
Well, it's the Windham sector, and I don't know how far upriver it goes. It goes, I know it goes down to the Vernon Dam. It goes to it goes to the Massachusetts border, but how far up? I think there's also a committee for the Windsor area. So probably, I don't know exactly how far upriver it goes, but it goes a ways up the river. I don't know the answer to your question
So
exactly, where the next committee is up the river that it is in our committee.
Yeah, I happen to know a little bit about this. So the Connecticut River Joint Commission it's actually because there's two sides of the river.
That's what the joint is in reference to?
It's a joint, yes. So it mostly.
Yeah, it's definitely across the river. It's New Hampshire and Vermont. Yeah.
So New Hampshire actually has some restrictions in place on the commission, because you can only be a member of the Connecticut River Joint Commission if you are a resident of New Hampshire or you live on one of the over towns that abut the Connecticut River. So it's a joint commission, but I think New Hampshire has a little bit more say over it than Vermont does. And it goes from the Vermont and New Hampshire border all the way up to the Connecticut lakes. So
our committee has input all the way up the river, so the
no,
Connecticut lakes?
the subcommittees just have local jurisdiction. They're a subcommittee of the commission.
Oh, okay.
So they have, like Heidi said, they have some input into permitting rules. So the dam in Bellows Falls is undergoing for re-permitting right now. So there's some input there. So if it is a functioning committee, it has some clout. So,
Great.
are there comments online? Any comments, public comments in the room?
I just have one. So Heidi was right, there hasn't been any representation for Putney on this committee for several years. And they're looking for 2 members. So if we can get another Putney resident, that would be great.
Any other questions? Okay, can I hear a motion?
I make a motion for Heidi to be our representative on the
It's a local
Connecticut River Joint Commission,
It's the local river subcommittee.
the local river subcommittee. Yeah.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to appoint Heidi. What's your last name? I'm sorry. It's pronounced
Henkel.
Henkel. To okay, we just muted you for a second because there was some odd noises. But it's moved and seconded to appoint Heidi Henkel to the local river subcommittee for Putney as a Putney representative. Is there further discussion among the board? Any other comments online in the room? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
All right, welcome aboard, Heidi. Thank you for serving. And thanks for waiting.
I think she's gone.
Okay. All right, so the next piece is the select board items, new business. First is the local emergency management plan review and approval, which is Tom.
Once again, every year, just like every year in the past, every year in May, our plans need to be approved and submitted to the state. Those plans go to the Department of Public Safety, and then they also are available for FEMA as well.
Okay.
So this year, excuse me, the plan was updated in a couple specific ways. We had several pieces of contact information that we needed to change, both for the municipality and for different locations in town. And then we, based upon some, for lack of a better term, I'll say issues surrounding sheltering and a little bit of a decrease in involvement with the Red Cross. Not that they're completely out of the mix at all whatsoever, but they're a little bit diminished. Then we did some planning surrounding that. So that piece of the plan has been updated. Other than that, everything, there were a few other little modifications just strictly pertaining to keeping us in line with other requirements and other plans, but that was simply references.
Does the board have any questions?
Did you get through that 202-page report?
I have skimmed it in the past.
Yes.
Any questions on the select board? Are there any comments online about the local emergency management plan updates? Any comments in the room? Public comments in the room? Right, can we hear a motion to approve the local emergency management plan for the town of Putney?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the local emergency management plan for the town of Putney. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we have a plan.
I'll get you that signed.
Okay. Thank you.
sign sheet.
Thank you, Tom.
If you want to
Thank
scan it,
you.
send it.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
see ya.
Okay, next up is the liquor licenses for the Gleanery, the general store, and the Mockingbird, which is John Johnson. Welcome
Good
back.
evening, everyone. Glad to be here. This is a continuation of the renewals that you looked at and approved at your last meeting. There's 6 permit holders in town. 3 got their applications in on time and 3 didn't. So we're doing the 3 didn't tonight. We did check all of the permit holders are current in water and sewer. We're not aware of any complaints regarding any establishment, no violations that we've been made aware of. Just kind of so that you know, the Gleanery has a first class and a third class, which would be a full bar and then a beer and wine. The general store is a second class, which is the retail sale of beer and wine. And then the Mockingbird has a first class, a third class, and then also an outdoor consumption permit for their deck. And it's my recommendation that all of the licenses be renewed.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yep.
On the document that's in our packet, it references for the Mockingbird and the Gleanery, a second-class permit. John, did you say third?
I may have misspoken. Both the Gleanery and the Mockingbird have a full bar license, which is hard spirits, what we would consider a full bar,
Right.
gin, vodka, those types of products. And they also have a beer and wine. Those are 2 separate limits, 2 separate licenses for which a separate permit is required. And then in addition, the Mockingbird has an outdoor consumption, which allows them to serve on their deck.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Can I hear a motion to renew the liquor licenses for Mockingbird Tavern, the Gleanery, and the general store?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded to renew the liquor licenses for the Mockingbird Tavern, the Gleanery, and the general store. Is there further discussion among the board? Any public comments online about liquor licenses? Any comment in the room? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We are
Thank you very much.
moving along
Yeah,
here.
thanks, John.
Okay, next up is grants and aid review and approval.
So in your packet is our letter of intent to participate in the fiscal year 24 Municipal Roads Grants and Aid Program. So this is a yearly letter of intent, and this is to keep our roads from stormwater, from washing out, basically. So the hydrologically connected segments. So Windham Regional, again, went through Putney, we have an inventory, and then there's high priority segments in town, which might, and maybe on a steep road or something. So your higher priority roads, segments, should be done first. And that way you have less problems when you have a flash flood. So Brian usually picks the road, because he doesn't like to just start in one place and then jump to another place. So he likes to, start on one road and try to get the entire thing done. This is a good program. We end up with funding from the state, and in your packet for this particular year, it'll be $26,250, which $21,000 comes from the state, and then the 20% match is from the town, which is $5,250. We don't ever see that come out of the operating budget other than labor and maybe materials, because Brian does
So it's
all the work.
in-kind work.
It's
Okay.
all in-kind work,
Okay.
yes.
Um,
So yeah, this is a program that started maybe 3 years ago. And with climate change, you're gonna see this program, as long as there's money to fund it, it'll continue.
So does Brian have a particular road in mind for this year?
No,
Okay.
I asked that question, and he's still thinking about it. You know, we did Putney Mountain last year, but he couldn't get the culverts, you know? So he could only do a portion of it. So we couldn't take advantage of the full grant.
Okay.
But, yeah, without the culverts, it's, so also, not only culverts, but it's a lot of ditching.
Yeah.
So when a road is a certain grade, like I think it's 45% or more, you gotta put in the big rocks, the big crushed rock. And then on a lower slope, you can do vegetation, and then, you know, hopefully it establishes, and then the goal of the program is to have the stormwater run off and not go into the streams.
Right.
And so we didn't use it all last year? Is that what you're saying?
Right. Because there's deadlines too for grants.
Uh-huh.
So, because of the 2021 storm too, and all the work that the town crew did, by the time we get up to Putney Mountain, and we still couldn't get the culverts to do the work.
And you can't use the other work for
No.
this grant? It's
No.
very specific what it's for?
Yeah, it's very specific to what you figure out what you're gonna do. Not only that too, it's, with the deadline, you gotta stay within the parameters, so it's kind of,
So do you, I'm sorry if you said this and I missed it, do you have to say up front what your plan is?
yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you have to say, you have to be specific
Right.
about, up front about
Yeah.
which roads you're gonna work on and,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, you
So
have
that-
to determine that ahead of time.
Right, okay,
So-
got
But
it.
this right here is just a letter of intent to
Yes.
participate
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
program in the first place.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Okay, well, with that said, can I have a motion to, well, so you, would you be our duly authorized representative, Karen?
I can be, or, well, yeah.
You
I
probably
will
should be, right?
Yeah, because I have
So-
to do the grant anyway,
Okay.
so.
So can I hear a motion to approve the letter of intent to participate in the SFY 24 Municipal Roads Grants and Aid Program and to designate Karen Astley as our duly authorized representative?
So moved.
It's been, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the letter of intent to participate in the FY 24 Municipal Roads Grants and Aid Program with Karen Astley as our duly authorized representative. Is there further discussion among the board? Are there comments online? Comments in the room? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next up is Select Board unfinished business. We have a ARPA discussion. So,
Go ahead, Peg.
does it?
Yeah, I just thought it was important for us to at least get a little, keep the ARPA conversation going. And at this point, Karen and I, who were both on the ARPA committee, we've met.
Mention that, yeah.
But have you two
Right.
met? Yeah, okay, well, I met with Karen. I don't know what other conversations have been going on. But just a couple things that have happened, that we've filed our report for ARPA because we've spent no funds this year, that we're not inclined at this moment to reconvene an ARPA committee. We're taking some other approaches right now, or I would propose that we take other approaches if nobody objects. Karen and I are planning to meet with Gretchen
Haverlack,
who's in, yes,
she's economic development consultant in Wilmington.
Okay.
So, she'll be a good resource, so we can
so we're just trying to get
determine.
get some information that way. We're trying to, Karen and I are both also going to meet with trying to meet with the VCRD heads of the task forces and Mike to kind of get a read on what's going on with the task forces, because we think that's super important to this process. Keeping an eye on time-sensitive matching grants and things like that, which we don't feel at this moment that we need to rush in terms of the state ARPA grants. There's nothing on the list that's like we've got to move on that now or we're in trouble. So we feel like we have time to be thoughtful and keep moving. We're looking, we're really eager to see what, we think the town plan should have a huge impact on this, and the town plan is moving along, so we're keeping, want to keep an eye on that. That's basically all we have to say at this point. I would like to keep ARPA on the select board agenda so that we can keep revisiting it and having conversations, and if there's this is just our thoughts of where we're at. If other people have other desires, we should talk about those.
Right.
So Karen, the economic development consultant, that was one of the recommendations, right? The ARPA committee was to hire.
Yeah, there's 3 recommendations.
But one of them was to hire somebody, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
is that where that conversation, is that where you anticipate that conversation going?
Yes.
Okay.
That and elsewhere too.
All right.
There's a lot going on right now, and it's hard to make any concrete decisions because our task forces are talking about ARPA funds too.
Yeah.
And we just don't have a handle on it. So, I know the board, we talked about investing the money too, tying it up, maybe for 12 months might be okay. After that, it's gonna be difficult, but I think we're in a position where we can just wait a little longer to see how things transpire. But
I don't have any brilliant ideas on how to move forward. So I think we're on the right track.
right, with all this energy money coming down, all the funding that's coming down through the state, leveraging right now is we don't have specific projects. So, even trying to get a grant writer, we don't have any projects to write grants for. So I think in time, hopefully by August, we're gonna have a better picture of what the community is looking at.
In part because this whole town plan is going to give us a lot more information. And in part because those VCRD committees, those task forces are going to be further along. And I don't know about how much other people, I've tried to plug into those task forces and talk with Mike and kind of keep abreast of what's happening there. And we just don't know yet. They're still in process. So actually what I would like to do is at the next select board meeting, come forward with some priorities that I think we should hold, that I'd like the select board to consider, that we hold as some priorities for thinking about funding. And these were priorities basically that the ARPA committee talked about a lot. But bring those forward and see if we're in agreement about those general priorities, and then also perhaps start talking about a process for particularly how, if the task forces, how to interface with the VCRD task forces and the projects that they've got going.
Okay.
Hey, 2 quick questions. Excuse me. Has the ARPA committee developed any written recommendations?
The ARPA committee's been laid down. It doesn't exist anymore.
It's been tabled.
It has been tabled, yes, and as it was being laid down,
Right.
they made 3 recommendations. We made 3 recommendations to the select board, and they were that we fund that we invest the ARPA funds so that we collect a return on them, interest on them, that we hire a consultant to help us, and that we continue to engage with the community in trying to figure out what the best way to spend the
Are
money.
these written down anywhere?
Yeah, they're in
minutes.
select.
Oh, they're in the-
board
okay.
minutes,
They're in the
too.
minutes too.
Thank you.
So one thing too that we've been hearing is, as we talk about consultants, this is a conversation we'll have with Gretchen as well, but communications liaison. So, because we took the single allowance, if we chose, the select board could just put it in the general fund. You know, we could do, right, a lot of different things with it. But because we have multiple processes going on right now, and we're trying to prioritize what's important for the community, for future growth, or just the future,
Right.
I think we need to look at everything and then have an educated, decision about it. I think it's still too early right now.
Okay. I mean, if the ARPA committee did come up with some generalized priorities, I think that's a good place to start.
Right.
Because, I mean, I can think of a dozen things that we could spend the money on, but I don't know which one of those is a priority. So I think that would be a good first step.
Yeah, I can bring that to the next
Okay.
meeting, the things, I mean, we didn't ever agree on that, we didn't ever vote on those as a committee, but we had a lot of discussion, and I would say that there was some general,
Yeah.
that those priorities that were discussed multiple times would be worth us looking at and considering.
Okay.
Because at this point, it's up to us,
Yes.
Right.
yes.
Yeah, the select board will make the ultimate decision about how to spend it.
Yeah.
ARPA money.
And I think engaging the VCRD task force as well, because that obviously they
Right.
have their own priorities. They
Yeah,
have pretty set in stone priorities, so I think
Right.
that's a good place to,
right.
And so I guess I just would like to know from other select board members if you have strong feelings about where we, how we should be maneuvering this at this point, or if you're comfortable with.
I think that's a good path to start with.
Cool.
yeah, I think we don't have to worry.
Yeah.
But we should
I
definitely
just
keep
want to
it on
keep
the,
it
we
on
should
the
definitely
table.
keep
Like,
it
I
on
wouldn't mind putting it on a recurring agenda, just kind of,
I can
So
add
that
it
we-
to the back of the
Yeah.
agenda. as-
yeah,
or the front.
or the front.
Yeah.
I think this is something that we
Then
do want to make
need
sure
to
that
keep
there's
it on the burner.
momentum,
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think if we just put it on the back, it
It'll
stays on the back.
I'd say put it on the front.
Well, let's put it on the agenda for the next
Yeah.
meeting in any event. All right, is there further discussion among the board on ARPA? Is there comments in the room?
I just, I think that you're going in the right direction, but I hope that that the planning doesn't take such a long time that you miss out on leveraging state funds, because right now, there are state funds that are available for this building. And you know that you want to do this building. So you can make that decision at any time. You can say, if this building is going to cost, I don't know what, $300,000 to or $500,000 to fix
It's gonna be 1.1.
1.1. Okay.
We wish it would be
So-
$500,000.
So
to
if you used some of the money, the ARPA money, to leverage that, then you don't have to use general fund money. I mean, it is general fund money, but you should be
Right.
using it to leverage money for projects that you already know exist. And I have to tell you, I've seen a ton of money go out for water and sewer to towns who jumped on it like that, using their ARPA money for leverage. And I don't know how long that money's going to last and how much there is, but just keep that in mind, that leveraging the money is probably the most important thing you can do, and long-term results.
I just need to make 2 comments, okay? So as far as the renovation of the town hall, it will happen. We're not prepared right now. We still have some other aspects that we need to look at. And we are, meeting with different folks.
Yeah.
So we don't want to just, go into this blindly. But we're on top of that, because this is going to be a goal. And then as far as the wastewater treatment plant, I did speak to somebody at that capital improvement planning forum, and he's with the state, he does wastewater, and he asked me several questions. We're hooked up now, again, without knowing, and I do know that this plant needs a feasibility study, so we know what we're looking at, because honestly, I can't tell you. And if we're gonna have infill housing in Putney, compact settlement in the village, we will need to be looking at the wastewater treatment plant, water and sewer both.
Yeah.
But we're not prepared to do that yet. Just, we can't leverage something when we don't know what we're leveraging.
But we could use that money for the feasibility
For the
study.
feasibility study,
Right,
so
right.
that then.
So I guess the question is, do we feel that is a priority? And that's the piece that I don't really have a good,
We didn't want to go into the list tonight.
right, I know.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, but it is a priority. Yes, it's a priority.
yeah.
And there are several priorities that I have, that I see in Putney, and that's just with public facilities. So I completely understand, and I know I have that nervousness too, Jeanette, that, if we wait too long, are we gonna miss the opportunity? But
And I do think that it's important to know that, and I don't think you're ever going to get a consensus in the town for what's important. I hate to say that, because there's a lot of effort going on right now to try to get people involved, but we couldn't get a consensus of 7 people on the ARPA committee of how and where it should go. So you're just going to have to, take the bull by the horns and say, these are priorities that we have established that are priorities of the town, that we as a select board think are the ways to spend this money, and then do it. And there's going to be grousing and complaining, and I didn't get funded, and I thought we should spend all the money on whatever. It sounds like a lot of money. It's not a lot of money.
no, it's not.
So anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
I just want to appreciate that, and also appreciate you and anybody else who is, I feel like we will get we will make progress. I'm confident that we will. This has been a big shift from the committee to the select board. And so this, and this is our first conversation, basically, that we've had since that committee was laid down. So I think that we need to take some time and a few meetings to kind of sort out our process, how we want to manage this. But I want to say that you or anybody else who becomes aware of something that you think should be seriously considered at this moment, please bring it forward so that we can consider it. Even though we don't yet quite have a process for how to do that, please, I hope that people, if there's something that you're aware of that you think needs our consideration right away, that you bring it forward. So, you and anybody else.
Okay, is there further discussion among the board? We're gonna put this back on the agenda for next week, and you're gonna bring back whatever came out of the ARPA committee as far as priorities.
Yeah, and I'm gonna bring a couple suggestions
That's
that I
fine
think
too.
of how to
Somebody
proceed.
make some suggestions and take the bulk by the horns, and we'll get there eventually. Is there more comments online on the ARPA committee? Or not the ARPA committee, the ARPA money?
Discussion.
Discussion about the ARPA money. All right, hearing none, let's move on to the other business. Okay, other business closing comments and SB Addenda. We have the Southern Vermont Economy Summit, which is on May 23rd, 2023 in
Wilmington, Haystack Mountain.
And you said you're going, Karen?
Yes.
This does sound
I
interesting.
put it on my calendar, I just am still penciled it in, I can't make a commitment to it until a few other things.
It's $85 for attendance, so.
I may be in grievance hearings at that point, so I might not. That's kind of a bad time of year for me. But I'll see what I can do.
I would like to attend, but I don't know what my schedule is just yet.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, if a couple of us can attend, we don't all have to go. But yeah, if that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, and the next piece is just to mention that I guess you came up with May 24th, 2023.
I had 4 out of 5, so
Select
I
board.
took it.
So did we make a decision?
We had a doodle poll. Did you?
I know, I just didn't ever see what the,
You were on there for that date. So.
I know I was on, I just didn't know what the result was.
Well, the result is May 24th, 2023.
Okay.
I don't know if I sent a confirmation out.
I don't think you did.
I should, so it's on your calendar.
Well, now it is.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's a Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so is everybody good
Is
with
that,
that day?
what day of the week is it?
Wednesday.
But that's when our meeting is.
It's the.
It's an off.
Oh, it's an off week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And what's the time we have?
5:30.
5:30.
And here,
Yes.
oh, we can't meet at Mockingbird or the diner.
We may be able to order pizza.
Pizza, something special, make it, it's called a special select board meeting.
Right.
So I think we need to do something
Make it special.
in order to achieve the goal of specialness.
Okay, is that date sounds like it works for the majority of us, so we'll go with it. Okay, so we are going into executive session, right?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, so I'm sorry, I skipped over the whole
Any other?
public comments.
I just wondered if you had decided that you did not want to appoint me to rescue, or
So there was a bit of an oversight, we forgot to put it on the agenda, but also it hasn't been properly advertised.
I'm
so
going to take responsibility because it wasn't advertised. The board asked me to put it out there,
okay.
see if there was anybody else. So I figured it took us long enough to get a person. So I think maybe a month, give me a little grace period.
I will give you all
Okay.
the grace period you
So
said.
I will make sure it gets on Facebook and the website and maybe Putney, I don't know. Just another,
yeah, I think some people pay attention to that who aren't on Facebook, so
yeah,
in Front Porch Forum.
I don't do that.
Okay.
I just
I don't
hope
do
that
I
people
know.
would take stuff from the website or Facebook and put it
Sometimes
on
people
Front
do.
Porch Forum.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't manage a half dozen different
Yeah.
social media platforms.
That's probably.
We're not doing it. I'm putting my
fair.
foot down, it's
Totally
not
fair.
happening. You know, Kim does so much right now with that website, it's insane. So, but I will definitely make sure, so the next,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I saw that you're going into executive session to talk about the appointment of committee. I thought, oh my God, what have I done?
So if you pay attention to
They need to talk
last
about me in
year's
executive session.
meetings, around this time, we were told that Rescue Inc. does not qualify as a public officer, and therefore we cannot go into executive session on that.
right.
So,
Okay, well, I didn't know that, but.
so we're well aware of that one.
I looked at that and I
But no,
got a little
we're not
nervous.
going to go into executive session to talk about you.
So then I can leave, I don't have to wait until you come up and say, you're fired?
You're
Right.
hired, you're hired.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Is there public comment online about, with other business or closing comments online? Anybody on the select board have any more closing comments? All right, before we do the executive session piece, our next meeting date, our regular scheduled select board meeting is May 3rd, 2023 at 5:30 PM at the town hall and on Zoom. Okay, can I hear a motion to go into executive session under Title I V.S.A. 313A3, which is the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer, employee, provided that the public body shall make a final decision to hire or appoint a public officer or employee in an open meeting and shall explain the reasons for its final decision during the open meeting.
Make a motion to go into executive session.
A second?
Second.
And we're inviting Karen in. So it's been moved and seconded to go into executive session under Title I V.S.A. 313A3. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Okay, so thank you, everyone.